Hey folks. So doing another live this morning. Um, just to talk a bit about some of the themes I've been writing about this week. In particular, the two pieces, um, death of scaling and human scale. So as kind of brief recap for anyone who didn't get a chance to read them. Um, I talk about in Death of Scale that essentially AI is really good at doing things at scale. Um, Humans actually really struggle to do things at scale. Um, it's really hard to deal with everything from uh, kind of news, social media, um, even if we think about scaling software, doing things at scale is a lot more difficult and, in a sense, kind of alien to humans and the way we naturally work. Like, even a really basic example of if you scale globally, you now have to deal with lots of different time zones, right? And generally, that's a problem, a very unique problem in human history. Like a few hundred years ago, that no one was having to worry about dealing with, people in different time zones. There was no way of communicating that fast. And so with technology, we kind of unlocked this ability to scale, but it really kind of comes at a human cost. Welcome, Diamantino. Good to have you here. Um, and and so we've got this. Whereas AI is fantastic at this. Once technology can operate on our behalf, it can work, it can spin up new instances of itself. It can work tirelessly day and night. We actually have an incredible scaling machine. We can scale ourselves. We can scale our businesses. We can now do far, far more. And then what I talked about, I guess, in the human scale piece was this idea that, um, you know, if that that's brilliant for AI, but it's not great for us. If we are having to, work, we can't compete essentially. If we're trying to compete with AI at this scaling game, we're going to lose because we don't work tirelessly. We don't scale linearly. Humans are not linear creatures, and so if we're trying to compete in this kind of systematized way with AI, we will lose. And because that's where AI absolutely shines. You give it clear context, clear guardrails, clear instructions, a clear system of how to do something, and something that's easily verifiable when it's wrong or right. We you know we're going to lose. That's exactly where AI shines. And so uh, Diamantino, thank you for that comment saying that indeed we cannot compete with AI, we need more time to think, is exactly right. And thinking, again, is this very non-linear phenomenon, right? I'm sure we've all had an experience where we might have sat at a computer, with a blank Word document or whatever it is for hours and barely made any progress. Or, banging our head against a bug that just cannot debug, whatever it might be. And then you can go for a walk or you go to bed that night. You have a bath or go to the sauna or something like that. And suddenly it just comes, your loads of ideas have come up of how to tackle that, different angles, something that just wasn't there possible before. And this speaks to something I talk a lot about when it comes to human and the differences between humans and AI. And I think for me, the key line that I repeat, anyone who reads or follows my work, I repeat this constantly, but this idea that AI will force us to do what only humans can do. And what is it that only humans can do? For me, it's this idea of um, vision, values, and intuition and embodiment, right? So vision, we can see things that not only don't exist, but aren't even very likely to exist. The best products, the best, the ideas that didn't just, do some remix something. They invented something completely new. Things like the MacBook, things like, these amazing products, the iPhone, right? These categories they didn't even really exist before. And th- to be able to see, this idea that you have for how the world could be different, something you want to create that no one else can see, and not only is improbable, but maybe it's in borderline impossible. It's like most people don't can't even believe what you're trying to achieve. And this is something I see obviously so much working in startups. Is why I love working in this space, is because it's exactly what most founders are dealing with. They've got the idea in their head. They know what it is they want to do, and it's actually about convincing other people that, to come on that journey with them. And so this idea of having the vision, having our intuition, so, being guided by something that, may be non-rational, is, we've got that voice saying like, don't go there today, or you need to take a break, or, just talk to that person. You might not know why, but just talk to that person. Sometimes we get these intuitions, and the more we follow, we might not be able to explain it. I think, I'm not going to remember the quote now, but I think I saw on a post the other day someone talking about, it was a director. I want to say the director who did the Seven Seals. I can't remember his name. Like a famous 20th century director, and he talked about kind of intuition is like throwing the spear in the dark, and then the intellect then goes and figures out where the spear has gone, right? And this idea of being able to throw the spear in the dark, like just throwing it at something out there, hearing that voice, trusting in it, and then maybe after the fact, our intellect kicks in. Oh, of course we should have spoken to that person because blah 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 blah. But actually, in that moment, we just had this voice saying, "Let's go for that. Let's try that." And the more we can follow, this is something that, look, I'm not here to speculate about the nature of consciousness in regards to AI. If it there, I absolutely do not discount the idea that AI could be conscious, or attain consciousness, but it's going to be a different kind of consciousness. And nothing I've seen so far, and nothing I understand about the underlying technology and the way it works, suggests that intuition is currently a property it has, at least in not in the way that we understand it. And so, and if it does have its own form of intuition, I still believe there'll be a unique human intuition. And so maybe AI and human intuition can complement or be different in different ways. But I still think this idea of intuition is a uniquely human skill, and one that we have to cultivate, right? Like we all have it within us, but sometimes we ignore that voice. Sometimes we don't trust it. Sometimes we can't hear it, right? And there are, getting in touch with that and tuning into it requires practice. It's kind of innate, but it's also, like with all things, like, you know, it's also a skill that can be developed. And then values. So sure, AI can potentially do anything, and I touch on this a bit in the human scale article, which is, you can do more of the same. You can do more faster, cheaper, blah blah blah. But why? What are we doing? Why are we doing this? What's the purpose of it? And even if you get to the realm where, we're in this, hugely agentic future where you can spin up essentially entire companies, you have entire departments of agents operating on your behalf, going out, acting in the world, executing. You've got to have the vision of what you're trying to do, but you've got to have this. You've also got to have the values. Like, what ultimately, there's always going to be trade-off decisions. Excuse me, trade-off decisions to be made. I've just upgraded my Claude account. These things cost money, right? Like, it might be worth it. It's like in comparison to my time and how much effort I'm putting into it. That might be it might be great value, but it's not free. And so, and who, I'm not going to speculate about the costs of how these things will continue in the future, but whether it's money, whether it's, time, whether it's resources, there is a cost with, things are finite. Like, there are the laws of physics exist, and so there will always be a trade-off of, like, do I point my incredible agent army here, or do I point it here? Do I get it to do it in this way or that way? And ultimately, these are going to be decided by these questions. These decisions we have to make as individuals are going to come down to our values, right? Come down to our experience, and why, why am I doing this? Well, I'm doing this for this purpose. This is what I'm trying to achieve. And so that means, of these, I could go this way or this way, but this one aligns with what I'm trying to do and why I'm doing it. I want all my AI agents to run on green, certified green servers, so they're less have a less environmental impact or something like that. Um, it might cost more money, they might be slower, but that's a value I care about, and so I'm going to do it. So we're always going to have decisions to make, and so therefore, and again, like any values AI like AI doesn't innately have values, as I understand. This is something we provide, right? That's part of the context we give. And then lastly, yes, this idea of embodiment, like again, with robotics, and combining AI with robotics, these things may change, but there is still never going to be the sensation of being a human, um, being a human being in our bodies, the sensations, our experience of the world. I wrote just today about this idea of why do photos of the moon always look crap, and it was a bit of a silly title, but what I was trying to get at is this idea that you know when I see the moon in the sky, a full moon and, with a like slight bit of cloud in the sky that kind of frames it and gives it this halo effect. It was stunning. I saw it. This was earlier this week. Um, and it's mesmerizing. There's something so enthralling about it, or something mysterious. You're drawn into it. But then if I take a photo of it on my phone, it just looks crap. Like it never looks good. And obviously, I'm not a professional photographer. Obviously, iPhones aren't like designed for this, but the point being, there is a qualitative essence of being an embodied human that, again, AI, until we get Neuralink, etc., cannot, at this point, that is still a uniquely human experience. And so, and all these things, I think, combine to bring me to this idea, which is the title of this, which is, AI and human liberation. And I'm just pausing for a second to have a look at this comment from Diamantino. Whether it achieves consciousness or not, or even if we don't know what consciousness truly is, it will be different from us, yes. Maybe in the future, we will need to get used to another level of intelligence or being in this digital realm. It's both interesting and scary. Absolutely. I think that it's interesting and scary sums up this moment, right? And AI, like perfectly. It's absolutely fascinating. And I oscillate, right? I definitely oscillate. Sometimes I'm just, in even in the article I wrote, Human Scale, I was being, I was sort of lamenting this idea of us all spinning up OpenClaws and just trying to do more of the same. What did I do that night? I actually finally got my own OpenClaw set up, and it's, to be honest, I'm having lots of teething issues with it. But the point is, you know, there is no one. I don't believe fully rejecting AI is viable, but also it's not desirable. And this is what I guess I want to speak to, which is, ultimately it's up to us to decide what impact this tool, this technology has, right? And even if it achieves consciousness, even if our actions are the way we impart our values to it, the prompts we're giving it, the stuff we're writing on the internet, all this stuff feeds into the training data, blah blah. Like we are shaping it, right? It is born from us. It is born from our kind of collective, all our knowledge and ideas and hopes and dreams and everything we put on the internet and is available in digital format. Like that is what AI is being born from. Um that kind of digital womb of all our ideas. And and part of a very, very small part of, why I do this Substack is to provide some little bit of training data, right? With which tries to frame things in a way that I believe is positive. And for me, it comes back to, I guess, the title of this conversation I wanted to talk about is this idea of human and AI liberation. And what that means for me is, if we're using AI to do more of what we've been doing, then there is no freedom there. It's actually it's a form of entrapment. We're continuing the cycle, that kind of Buddhist samsara, hellish idea. Like we're just repeating the same mistakes, but far faster and more extreme than ever before. but it's the same thing, right? Nothing will really change, and I think that's where we're really looking at the kind of more dystopian outcomes of AI, of uh, oligopoly, tech lords, like feudal owners, AI tech lords just ruling over everyone else, all this sort of stuff, right? So, but the promise or the potential of AI, and this is where I how I think about things is, it really it has the possibility to free us to, I wrote a piece a while back called like AI is bullshit. And the point of that was to say that, there's a concept like bullshit jobs and bullshit work, like just stuff we do that, yeah, we get a salary, but it's like, it's not so pointless and meaningless. And even when it isn't meaningless, even when there's clear purpose behind of it sometimes it's not going back to this idea of you know AI will force us to do what is uniquely human. Some of the tasks we have to do are not something that only a human being should be doing. I mean, even for me, I loved writing code. I loved the craft of it. I loved getting to that flow state and solving hard problems. But first of all, there was loads of BS with that, having to read loads of documentation and like figure out these arcane commands um, and dealing with like really annoying bugs. Um, there was a lot, and writing loads of boilerplate code. A lot of it was BS. Like when you got to that real sweet spot of I'm doing something valuable, I'm doing something novel, and I'm really having to think about it and really solve a real problem, that was amazing. But there was a lot of fluff around it, right? A lot of just BS around it. And what AI is fantastic at is dealing with all of that fluff, dealing with all of that stuff that just like it isn't. I don't believe it's our unique position in this universe as human beings to be sat at a laptop, like typing stuff into a spreadsheet or writing up like summarizing a report, of conversations we've had and all this sort of stuff. Like AI is fantastic at this stuff that if we use it well and intentionally should free us to do higher and higher level things. um and so there's this idea of obviously like moving up the value stack, moving up layers of leverage of our skills. But really, or you can move up and up and up, but if you're still doing that to, you know, do more of the same, like, make more money, move faster, like outdo the competition, like I don't believe we're really making any progress. I mean, look, I'm not there's a whole very large conversation around, capitalism and, all this sort of stuff. Um and I'm not going to get into that now. It's a big and thorny topic. But I really do believe that, you know, we we're all unique, right? None of us are special. Like we're all human beings. We're all fundamentally the same, right? But we are all unique. That's one of the things that kind of unites us. We all completely different. And the more we can understand and lean into that uniqueness, the more the more valuable we become to wider society, whether that's capitalist, whether that's expressed in money or whatever, it doesn't is less important. But if you do care about money and you do, which is not like it's a very normal thing to care about, then focusing on this uniqueness of what is unique, not just about me what is unique about me as a human, right? It's not my ability to do spreadsheets quickly, but maybe it is about understanding how do I help businesses really understand what's going on within them and think about things in a different way to help them, change what they're doing. And I think there's finding that passion, that thing that we care about, and we could just do for forever because we're just really fired up by it. This is what AI both kind of it forces us to and also empowers us to really do, because anything other than that thing, that unique thing that is your driving mission, is going to you're not you won't be able to compete, right? If you're just doing something that isn't really aligned, I don't think that you're not going to be able to like anything that's just average is going to be subsumed by AI because it's, I say humans deal with the possible, AI deals with the probable. If you're just doing the average thing, then AI will do it better than you and far cheaper, etc. Because it's based on averages. So in order to bring that value, that complementarity, you've got to stick out. You've got to be on outside of the distribution, and that means the best way to do that is to focus on being really uniquely you. So for me, I think of AI, I think if we frame AI as how does this liberate me? Right? How does this free me to get more time back, to focus on the things that only I can do? And exactly as Diamantino said at the beginning, we need more time to think. AI absolutely can and should be able to achieve that for us. We should be able to spend less time doing basic admin, synthesize, like I've just completed doing a report for a client that I worked with, and AI was instrumental in bringing that, synthesizing all the, like, I had the conversations, right? I met the people, I had that human connection. I understood the situation. I shared my approach, like how I would think about resolving the problem. So all of that was uniquely me, right? Being able to chat with other human beings and bring my experience to bear and sh- share my philosophy and my way of thinking about things, way of approaching things. That is absolutely the unique, like a unique thing that only I can do. Turning that into a report, like typing that into a document would have been something that years ago, it would have been just the bit I would want to, so I've done all the bit that fires me up and that I'm good at. And now, and of course, we want to have it in a consistent format to refer back to, and it's nicely formatted and all this sort of stuff. But like that's what AI is fantastic at, synthesizing it. So it's about, I really think that the better, the more, and the more I can do that, the more I can then focus on, um, being more present with the other, having time to think, getting that time back that I would have spent hours writing up a report. And now it's the report would have loved to write, like a higher quality that I could have written, but I don't feel the AI wrote it for me. It's all everything, like it's all my ideas, it's all my philosophy, it's me, but the the kind of the physical turning it into a document has been automated, and that is so fantastic. I just get so much more time back. I have so much more time to do events like this, talk through my ideas, share my ideas, interact with others, learn from others. And again, this is again a really uniquely human thing, to be able to articulate our thoughts, share them with others, connect. Diamantino's here with me. I really appreciate it. Other of you may be listening or watching back another time. There's still a connection here, right? There's still, this is different to just reading an article I've written, or just, there's a different quality here, right? And so, and there's different quality being live to listening back, etc. But you know, AI frees, in this very simple example, has freed me up to be able to be more present with everyone here and everyone watching back. And that's a gift, right? I feel I've been liberated from drudgery of typing stuff out that I already know what I want to say. It's just, I've already done all the work. I just need to now get it into like a format that can be shared. It's freed me. And I think the more we can lean into that, the more we can think about AI as a way of how do I use this, not to become more enslaved, right? How do I avoid just ending up spending all my time just now focused on AI, right? Like, and just, I'm going to work 996 and go even more extreme with my AI. And look, I also don't want to, there's always room for that, and there's always a need for that. And I also don't want to kind of demonize or say like that's bad or wrong, because it depend, like there's a space for that, right? And if that is your unique burning drive of like, I've got this idea, I want to bring this thing to the world, and I want to give everything I've got to it, right? Then more power to you. And again, AI, you're putting everything into it, and AI will amplify you even further, and that's fantastic and give you even bigger impact. But I don't think that should be the default. And I think it's absolutely right that, as I said, humans don't scale linearly. So you might go 996, you might throw everything in it, but actually, as I said right at the beginning, some of my best insights, some of my best breakthroughs, the way I've really delivered the most value to myself and my clients and anyone I've worked with has not been when I've worked harder. It's been sometimes when I've stepped back, when I've taken a break, when I've had more time to think, when I've gone on holiday and come back refreshed. It's like, actually, we don't scale linearly. AI might scale linearly, we don't. And so we're different. And so we should leverage that. We should appreciate that. And actually, the more time we can get back from these tasks to not do anything, right? To go for a walk, to sit and contemplate, to read a book, right? To write, to see friends, whatever, like these things that are uniquely human, I genuinely believe will translate into more creative ideas, more opportunities, more things that, that are completely unexpected. And that, I think, is where the real value lies. And again, it comes back to, if there's some probable outcome or like some likely thing, then AI can go and chase that and pursue that incredibly effectively. Where our unique magic as humans is the idea of being able to is to embrace the unexpected, is to go out and create and have meet a friend for coffee who mentions someone who then they introduce you to, and that becomes your new co-founder or your new client or your new romantic partner or whatever it is, and completely changes your life. And so leaning into that unknown, this uncertainty, is something, when the system is defined, when it's clear, like, right, we've done this, we understand all of this, and now we just need to go and do it bigger and faster. AI is fantastic on that. But what it can't do, and what is still uniquely human, is actually the complete unknown, is to step into something where you could never have predicted the outcome, right? How many of the important things in your life, when you look back, can you look back and go, I could never have seen that happening in a million years? It's always my favorite, like Steve Jobs quote, where he says, the dots always make sense looking backwards, right? A lot of the time we stumble through, make these decisions. And then when we look back, I look back at my career and I can see, there's like kind of made sense. I went from here to there, and then I got that experience, that unlocked that, and then I met that person. And as I said, it all makes sense looking back, but that isn't how it felt at the time. Looking back, it seems like, great master plan. At the time, that isn't how it felt. I was just moving through it, doing the best I could, making decisions, trusting my intuition, sometimes not, and learning from it, all these things. So I'm going to bring it to a close here. Um, and I just want to close on another comment from Diamantino, where he said, AI is in fact liberating us in certain areas. Sometimes I question what this says about the nature of work. Perhaps AI is highlighting something fundamental that requires us to question what this tells us about how we work today. Uh, Absolutely. Absolutely. And so again, this idea that AI will force us to do what only humans can do, this sounds kind of wonderful. It's really difficult and it's really challenging, because it will force us, and welcome, by the way, Bilal, as well. It will force us to reckon with the fact that a lot of what we do isn't unique to, like, something only humans can do. Most of work, most of the way society is structured is completely antithetical to this. So I don't want to make light of this. Like, it's a really, really hard challenge for us personally, like, to come to terms with what this really means for me and my work. Like, how much of our identities are tied up in our work, and then what if that work no longer really exists anymore? Like, well, who am I? Like, these are hard things, and we're going to go through that on a societal scale at incredibly rapid pace, on from like a historical and kind of species wide perspective. And it's happening right now, and we're already in it. And so it's really absolutely. And so, just to kind of bring this back more groundedly to something more practical, and this is why I am really passionate and talk a lot about this idea of, like, value based pricing. And this, basically, any model which disconnects the value you receive. So essentially, let's be simple about it. The money you're paid to do something, and it might not be money, it might be some other thing, but let's just say the money you're paid to do something is decoupled from the time in which it takes you to do it. And so at the moment, I think, the fundamental mismatch with the way that a lot of our society, in particular our work, is structured is around time. It's like there are these we pay you for your time, which is, I've written about this previously as well, which is it's actually has always probably been a bit absurd. Again, you might work 9 to 5 in the office every day, blah blah blah, and to some extent, when it's like there's this drudgery of work to do, it makes a lot of sense because you need, like, it comes from the factory model. You just need people at the machines pressing them, pulling the levers, whatever it is. You just need that to that there is no outcome. But as you move into like more and more knowledge work, as you move into these like I'd say higher leverage forms of work, shall we say, it's not like the relationship to time is completely arbitrary. As I said, I could go out for a walk and have a brilliant idea, and that could generate my company or whatever, huge amounts of revenue. It's not directly tethered to time. And again, if I'm really skilled at something, I might be able to do something really quickly. And sure, that's reflected often in salaries, but anyway, this is a whole different topic, and I want to bring this to an end. So I would encourage you to go and read, if you're interested in this idea. I write a bit about value-based pricing, and kind of decoupling, focusing on outcomes, essentially. Like, you need this, you're willing to pay this, and I'll do that for you. And if it takes me 2 minutes or 2 hours or 2 weeks, it doesn't matter to you, right? Like, and obviously, the more we use AI, the more those time compressions might, get smaller and smaller. But ultimately, if it's delivering, if you pay me 2K to something that's going to deliver you 20K, doesn't matter. Like, if that works for you, then it works for you. So for me, I think I'm very bullish on AI. I'm very bullish on increasing numbers of like solopreneurs, of people essentially not. And I've written about this. Yeah, salary, like, not like the idea of a salary. I think is going to be deprecated. So moving away from this idea of salaries, moving to focus much more on being paid for outcomes rather than inputs or outputs. And so yeah, but I think it's absolutely right, Diamantina, that it's a huge challenge to, and this is part of what I'm interested in. This is part of what I want to discuss and try and shift. Is will require, like, it's going to be a huge societal shift and challenge, and we can't control society. We can only control ourselves, right? And if we all do this work, if we can all figure this out, then of course all of society changes, because society is just made up of us. I can't control anyone else. I can only control myself. So this is the work I do. I try and do the work for me. I share my experiences. I talk with others. We try and learn together. And that's how this is how I see we can move into this state of liberation. We can move into this state of AI freeing us to do something that is unique to us, uniquely human, and unique to us as human individuals, and communities, etc. So it's an exciting time and a scary time, as Diamantino said. And so, be kind to yourself, look after yourselves, and but it's in our hands, and it always has been, right? But it is in our hands. So, the JFK quote, right? The only thing we really have to fear is fear itself. So it's okay to feel scared, but if we let that dictate our actions, then that's where I think the worst outcomes happen, really. I think if we can trust in ourselves and figure this out, I think there's a really amazing transformational opportunity. So I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for everyone who joined, and thank you if you're listening or watching back. And I'll do another one of these soon. Thanks so much.